Welcome to another edition of Capsule on liveandlimbo.com. I'm Andreas, senior film and music editor on the site, and with me is my co-host, the main guy behind the site, Sean Chin. How's it going?
I'm great. How are you, man?
I am good. So you got a pretty cool interview yesterday while I was at work. Lucky
Y-
you.
Yeah, we got Matt Webb and Live in Limbo's our content editor and social media editor Katrina helped out co-host that. So that was pretty cool. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, it's kind of like the view or whatever. When somebody's missing, you need somebody to replace. So yes, I think she did a good job replacing me.
Yeah, and so if people don't know, he's the lead guitarist of Mariana's Trench, a Canadian pop rock alternative band.
Right.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah, so that went pretty well, and you got to showcase your new microphone, the one that Tom York from Radiohead
That's right,
favors.
Electro Voice RE20. Hopefully, you guys can hear some kind of difference now versus before.
Oh, I definitely can, but
I
hopefully
had to
other
match. I
people.
had to match. It was tough matching your naturally good sounding radio voice, man. You made it really
Uh,
hard. You set the bar so high.
well, no, if you challenge me to a singing contest, I can't hit many notes, so that there's a disadvantage to this.
You don't. Well, you don't need to hit those notes for radio. You don't need to sing for that.
No,
But
but if my life depended on a karaoke contest, I think I'd be killed in 2 seconds.
just add the reverb and some echo. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, that's some autotune. I really need autotune, I think.
All right, so let's get started off right now. Let's continue with our second last episode with Aga about the Grammys. So I think we were pretty much spot on with Daft Punk and Lorde being the big winners of the night.
Yeah, who would have thought? That was
Well, we thought.
sorry.
We thought that.
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. But I mean, like, who would have thought that we'd be right?
I don't know.
I
I
don't know.
thought I think we did a good job, and he voted. Aga voted for them as well. So
Yeah, so his choice is one.
yeah, that
Uh,
means he has good taste, and we have good taste, and
oh yeah,
we're proving that we have good taste.
I guess so. I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint Grammys like you can with the Academy Awards or with Emmys because you have so many chances of foresight with those. You have so many different awards. You have the BAFTAs, you have the Golden Globes, you have Sundance, you have TIFF Awards, you have a huge, plentiful amount of awards. The Grammys aren't really like that. There aren't nearly as many music awards that cater to just music in general. You'll have specific genres like country music awards. Um, but then, like some years, it's easy, like when Adele won. Yeah, we all knew that was going to happen, right? But then last year with Foster the People, not Foster the People. Who the hell was it? Mumford and Sons. Um, with Mumford and Sons, I don't think anybody saw that coming out like anywhere. And Arcade Fire was a huge surprise too. They didn't even win any other awards except for Album of the Year. So I'm surprised that we were right. We were pretty much spot on with most of our guesses.
Yeah, I agree. The only ones I was disappointed with was not seeing Disclosure or James Blake win. But I
I
think we
knew
said
that.
that James Blake was not a really new artist, so
Yeah, pretty
that was kind of
much.
weird.
Yeah. Ryan Lewis and Macklemore apparently caused a huge uproar in the hip hop community because of Kendrick Lamar's loss as a
Oh
result of that.
boy. Yeah.
Which to an extent, I agree with because what Kendrick Lamar did with Good Kid, Mad City was really impressive. He pretty much took hip hop, showed how it evolved over the years, showed how 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 stuck in cliches we can be. Because basically, if you haven't heard the album, it's a story he creates where he's young and he wants to be a rapper, and he lives in a pretty sticky situation. He's poor, he's living in a rough neighborhood, and the album starts off with really typical rap songs about how, like his dick is big, how he fucks bitches, excuse my language, the typical stuff. And as the album goes on, he matures and his mindset changes, and so does the music. The music becomes more mature. The way he raps about how he feels about religion, how he feels about societal issues, how he feels about death, it's fantastic. And I know that the heist deals with issues like that as well. Like they brought up homosexuality and why equality should be something that's happening now because now is the perfect time. But this kind of stuff that happened on Good Kid, Mad City was really impressive, and I don't think it's really been done to this extent before. And that's why a lot of people got upset because it was a big release in hip hop as opposed to an album which got a few good radio singles. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And his performance with Imagine Dragons was one of the best of the night. I
Yeah.
thought that was very energetic
I
and
don't even like
very
Imagine
innovative.
Dragons. I didn't even think they should have won, but yeah, that if there was any reason to have them at the Grammys, it was for that. That was good.
Yeah. And so, post Grammys.
Oh, actually, can I add
Oh
something to
yeah, yeah,
that
sure,
quickly?
go right ahead. Yeah.
Just while we're on Grammy talk, I just want to bring this up quickly. Apparently, Daft Punk weren't even on stage.
No, no. So yeah, I brought that up yesterday with Matt Webb,
Yeah.
and then so the issue was with them. Yeah, like you said, it might not have been them on stage because someone took a picture of the robots in the sitting down in the crowd,
Yeah.
and it appeared that the two guys sitting beside them were the actual.
Thomas and Guy Manuel, right?
Yes, but
Yeah.
then I think in an update they showed that they were not them. Like
Yeah.
it
But
was so Daft Punk was actually the robot people, I think.
yeah, there's two sides of this that make either possibility.
Those guys look really similar though. Maybe it's like a French thing, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Each possibility has a good and a bad. If that was them on stage, then of course they won everything. That's great. But that kind of idea would have been really interesting to see, wait, who do we cheer for? Do we cheer for the image or do we cheer for the actual person? Now, if it wasn't them, then yeah, that idea gets like the concept of that works perfectly, but then there's this huge image, not a huge image, but just an image that's huge online being passed around of them hugging when they won album of the year, and it it's a very symbolic image because it's robots, but they're hugging with such emotion that they don't need expressions on their face or anything. It's all about how they just embraced one another. Two individuals working 20 plus years in the industry, finally making it. And that would have been entirely gone if that wasn't even them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so I hope it is them because the
I think
latter is
it's
the
them
better.
now. Now that I look at those video clips again of them winning, I think it was them.
I hope so.
Okay, so we're still on the Grammy topic though.
Oh,
I was
okay,
just
sorry.
gonna say post winning, like the people that did win, they're seeing their sales skyrocket on iTunes.
Yeah,
So Daft Punk, which won multiple awards, um, Random Access Memory is back on the top 10 with upwards of 275% sales gain.
wow, that's fantastic. Good for them.
And Carrie Musgraves, the country singer who won 2 Grammys, she's up 200%, and she's selling about 300,000 copies of her song, of her album, Same Trailer, Different Park, this week.
That's fantastic. I'm guessing Lord's only up like 10% because she's selling well anyways.
She already entered the Grammy, like going into the Grammy weekend, she already had two of her songs, Royals and Team, in the top 10. So, but maybe they're already peaking, or I don't know. But I'm pretty sure she'd still see a boost.
Yeah, you can only be so high, I guess. I don't know.
Can go higher.
You
But
could.
so
It's difficult though. Once you've reached like 20 million people, I don't know.
well, she has almost 1 million followers on Twitter now. So she gained over 100,000 in that weekend
Oh, she
after
doesn't have a
winning.
million yet.
No, well, almost there. It's probably 1 million now or something.
That's surprising. I thought she would have been one of the few people on Twitter with a couple million
No, but
amount.
she only got popular within the last 6 months or so. Maybe not even 6 months. Maybe 5. Like she was.
Fair enough, actually.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy.
It's
Oh, speaking of Lord, after after the Grammys, when she went back, she like went home immediately to New Zealand after, and she spoke with the Telegraph, or at least they reported that she was fed up with the lecherous gaze of the music industry. She
uh
complained about the frightening price of fame. This is a quote. She said, "The New Zealand media almost pushed her over and her family at the airport just to get their shots."
this is a clever segue. I see what you're doing here.
What am I doing?
For a later on topic that we're
Oh
going to get
yeah.
into,
All right. Yes.
involving a certain other young individual.
Yes. 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 So we'll get into that. So I think That's pretty normal these days for people that have newfound fame to get attacked by the media.
Yeah, of course. I mean, people who say, "Oh, you should expect this because you're famous," yes, to an extent, but the level that these people are going just to get a shot or just to get some sort of a manipulative angle to try and create a controversial headline, it's not just an invasion of privacy. It's a lot more than that. It's borderline harassment.
But it's the price you pay, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, that
What do
doesn't
you want?
excuse what they're
What do you want
doing.
to happen?
Okay, what
You
I
think
think should
everyone's
happen.
just gonna leave you alone?
No, but I think they should at least have a bit of distance and not be so
Yeah.
invasive, you know what I mean? But
Yes.
that's going to be impossible. As long as this job exists, it's going to be impossible because if we create a border, you'll still have the one person willing to sacrifice their job to gain 1 million by jumping it, and then everybody follows suit.
Yeah. One. Yeah. One. It all it takes is one person to mess it up.
Yeah. And there will always be that one person because at at a job like this, believe it or not, it is a contest because you want your publication to have the better shots. You want your publication to have the better scoop or all of these rumors going around. You want them to be the first. So you'll do whatever you can because a lot of people blame the actual paparazzi, which to an extent, yes, they deserve a lot of it, but they get this way because of the pressure they're being fed by the actual companies that they work for. You know what
Which
I
is
mean?
due to the consumers wanting it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's actually the fans' fault, kind of.
Yeah. So if you don't pay so much attention to this to these kinds of photos and this kind of feed, then it wouldn't have been like this. But of course, it's too far gone by now. In a society where Twitter is almost a new form of paparazzi, where we find out absolutely everything by snooping in on
Almost
somebody's life.
instantly, like real time. Yeah.
Exactly, but at least it's them doing it to themselves. It's not other people invading their privacy. So we still get that insight that people want within a celebrity's life. It's just their own doing.
Yep. I agree with that. So, you watched the Super Bowl? That's gonna be tomorrow.
Yes, it is. It's Denver and it's Seattle.
Are you a big football fan?
Not a big football fan, but I
You know
I
what's
do
going
watch it.
on.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So,
of course. I watch it. My main sport is basketball, though. If I wish the NBA Finals were as big as the Super Bowl, just like this huge event. But but the Super Bowl itself, yeah, I watch it yearly. I watch the odd game here. My brother-in-law is really big into football. He's a big fan of the Patriots. So when they lost pretty close to the end of this year, I don't think he was too happy about that. I've never actually talked to him about it yet, but um, you know,
well, I watch it for the commercials and for the and all the musical performances in the halftime. So I
yeah,
brought up the Super Bowl because we'll be hearing a lot of music by the likes of Passenger, U2, One Republic, and Zed.
yeah.
So we're gonna see all of these celebrities and musicians in some form or another tomorrow.
As
Which
well
is,
as Bruno Mars and Red Hot Chili
yeah, that's
Peppers.
right. They're the halftime show,
Yeah.
so that's gonna be pretty awesome.
Now that's interesting because I think that's today's topic is what fame means and what captures our attention within the industry. It's interesting because you're not the only person who have said that's why you're going to be watching the Super Bowl. I know a lot of people who don't even care about football. They think it's slow. They think it's boring. That
That's
want to
me.
watch. Yeah, exactly. They want to watch because they want to see these commercials. They want to see these singers. It's a really bizarre situation when we
People
tape
want to watch the commercials.
yeah, we tape shows not just because we won't be home, but because we can fast forward commercials if so we can catch up or whatever. We can skip them. Online we get ad blockers. But these same people want to watch a 3 hour event just for advertisement. That's a really bizarre thing if you think about
It's
it.
the only case,
Yeah,
the Super Bowl. Yeah.
exactly. But that's the thing. That's interesting because I don't expect companies to spend millions of dollars on advertisements, but they focus all of their creativity and all of their money on Super Bowl ads that happen once, and then now with the internet they become viral. But all so many other commercials feel thoughtless, they feel repetitive, they feel phoned in. Like if a kid wants to buy sneakers, it's the same spiel where it's Oh, I need new shoes. I'm not fast enough. Oh, now I am. But then in the Super Bowl, it'd be some commercial about this famous baseball player that couldn't make it because he couldn't make it to the base. But then he got these shoes and it created his whole career and everybody stood by him. And then when he wanted to endorse the company, he said, "No, I've got my own pair of shoes." Or something really inspirational. And it happens once. And we all love it. It's fantastic. And then we go back to the same regular nonsensical garbage.
Yeah, I wish it could always be like that, right?
Yeah, it just shows the intent of these kinds of companies and these
That's
kinds
when
of
they
higher ups.
care. When they care about making an ad, you'll see it at the Super Bowl
Yeah, because
most of the time.
it's the same thing as paparazzi. It's a popularity contest. Which video was the best? If you're just waiting in between a show, nobody cares because nobody's watching. So they're just going to put any commercial, anything will rake them in money as long as the TV is on.
Well, the one ad, Super Bowl ad that really sucked the most was the BlackBerry one last year. They
What was that
paid
one
like
again?
five. No, I don't. It was some stupid. It was things that you can't do with a BlackBerry, and it was like a BlackBerry exploding into colors and stuff, and that was really a waste of money.
I don't even remember it. I think you're right.
Exactly,
It was
exactly,
very
and that one
forgettable.
even aired in Canada as well.
Yeah.
But this year, I think there's a website. I'll post it in the show notes that they're gonna show all of the American ads so that everyone in the world can watch it.
Well, there you go.
I think it's a YouTube channel. I'm
That's good.
looking. There's supposed to be an Apple one celebrating the Mac's 30th year of existence. I'm
That's
looking forward to
interesting.
that one.
Because yeah, I think Apple was the company that made commercials at Super Bowl a thing because I think it was their first commercial ever when the Mac first debuted
Yep,
30 years ago or so.
the
They debuted it
1984 one. Yes,
exactly. They debuted it at the Super Bowl, and that was the most expensive commercial. I think, is it still the most expensive, or was it just at the time?
at the time it was. I'm pretty sure.
They must have been in it now.
Yeah, yeah. They must pay more now.
Oh, they must. Yeah, it was like over $1 million for
But it was
this one
epic. It
commercial.
was epic.
Yeah, and that created the
Well,
legend that was Apple, and that
well
created the Super
the
Bowl.
thing is that we're still talking about it 30 years later shows how good it was.
Yeah, and it permanently changed the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is completely different now than it was before. Like
And as
now
you said,
it's
that was only used once,
yeah,
but
exactly,
people watch it still in some
exactly.
form or another. Yeah. So
And
that's how viral stuff works.
yeah, it created the Super Bowl as it is now and turned it from a sporting event into a huge mass collective of pop culture, whether it be through music, whether it be through ideas and technologies and commercials, and America's most, well, no, apart from NASCAR, one of the biggest sports is football. Yeah, so
Oh, now that I think of it, that might have been the first American viral commercial. Now that I think of it, could
to an
be.
extent,
Yeah, to an extent.
the same way that Charlie Chaplin would have been quote unquote the world's first celebrity,
Yeah, I
something like
agree.
that. Because
That
there was
makes sense.
probably stuff that came before, but that was like the instantly recognizable, huge success that just, spontaneously combusted on spot.
Um, yeah, I agree with that for the most part. So I wanna, Burial, right?
Oh yeah, I love
Did you
Burial.
hear the story? He posted a selfie and he posted a long note. It's on Pitchfork, and I'll link to that. But he said,
A new one?
yeah,
I'm
like
gonna look it up right
recently.
now.
He says he wants to make new music this year, and that he loves his family. And people are saying it's really cryptic. But
Well,
it's not like I'm gonna kill myself or something. It's like something positive, so that's good.
yeah. No, I don't think he's the kind of person to go that route. I don't think. Well, then again, I don't know anything about him. I'm looking it up right now as we speak. Um, because I'm all for
I just
Burial.
sent you the link.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't get it. Oh, Burial. Oh, it's right there, front page.
Yeah.
There we go. Oh, well, that permanently okay, because he released a selfie before, so now there are two known pictures of him.
That's
People,
amazing. There's only 2 known pictures of Burial.
yeah, and people thought that the first one was a lie, and that he's actually the producer Fortet, who's also a UK electronic instrumental producer. And now I guess that's the end of that, because now we have two images of the exact same guy. Um,
Unless it's the same guy.
oh, I saw Fortet. Fortet looks nothing like this. Fortet's got crazy Einstein hair going on.
Well, maybe it's makeup and masks and stuff like that.
Who knows? You never know.
These people like mystery, you know?
Oh yeah. Well, Daft Punk.
Oh yeah, Daft Punk. Yeah. It's all about the mystery. And then on the other hand, some people just let it all out.
I think I've just read it quickly. I'm not fast. I think that this letter isn't one to be sad about. I think it's just his kind, like the
Do you
perfect
think
burial way of
it's
saying
his
thank
time?
you.
It's his time now. Do you think now he's gonna go all out and release like a full length album and make this
I
like
hope he makes another one.
and makes this a consistent yearly or every other year music event?
Well, he's already been doing that with EPs, but I hope he releases a full length. But I think now, I think the point is before he catered to a specific audience with his other releases because they were very chilling, very ethereal. But with Rival Dealer, which is his most humanistic and organic release yet, he really struck home for a lot of people, especially with the very abstract theme of self-identity and the way that he described it as an album that was against bullying, and the fact that he just had the Lana Wachowski speech at the end unaltered, or like maybe 30 seconds of it, it really spoke to a lot of people as opposed to before, where a lot of it was just like markings on a painting where you kind of had to interpret what it was yourself. This was the full picture, and
I loved Rival Dealer. Oh my
oh,
god!
it's fantastic.
Thanks for bringing that up too. Like you reminded me about that, and I checked it out.
Oh yeah, well, no, it's no worries. That's what I do.
That's exactly why you're here.
Exactly.
So
Well, Rival
speaking of
Dealer.
albums, last week you reviewed Too True by Dum Dum Girls,
Ah,
a
yes.
band that you've said that you've liked, and you've also introduced me to their music.
Oh, I'm a huge fan of Dum Dum Girls.
And
Absolutely.
I really like their latest album, Too True, but you gave it a 6.8 out of 10. What's up with that,
I
man?
think it was lower than that even.
Really? Oh, what did you give it?
I think it was a 6.3 or 6.4. I don't remember what I exactly um decided on. Uh, it was between whether or not a specific song gave it an extra point one. Um, no, I do like it, but it's first of all, I think it's very forgettable, especially for them. Before, like they're not ones for having very distinct music. Their first
Do you
two
think it's too
albums.
mainstream now and too accessible, or
Oh,
what?
not at all. Not at all. I've never been somebody that's been against what's mainstream sounding or trendy sounding. I mean, especially, okay, let's look at Beyonce's new album. Obviously,
Oh,
Beyonce's
you're
new
right.
album.
You gave it a 6.4. My bad.
Yeah, there we go.
That's even worse, man.
Yeah, I know.
Explain
I
yourself.
will. Well, Beyonce's new album, it's sound-wise, it's very mainstream hitting. Like it's going the way that Drake's going. It's going the way that Kanye went before. It's got that very distinctive sound of the now. And I'm not against it because it's more mainstream sounding. I think it's fantastic. I think she pulled it off. I think she went the exact same route that Justin Timberlake went with 2020 Experience, especially part one. I wasn't too big on part two, but that's another story. Um, the same kind of sound where it's hypersexualized. It's very modern. It's the production is of a specific quality, like this kind of synthetic retro, yet very now. Yeah, so it's as mainstream as it can be. It's hitting that current trend, and I thought it was great. And I'm not even that big on Beyonce, so I'm not one to ever be against what's mainstream or what's catering to current trends. And there, I didn't even think that Too True was even hitting a current trend. I thought it was trying to replicate the '80s, and um, here's how it is. The layering I think is really good. Like it hit a lot of emotions that I would get from an album like Disintegration by The Cure, where it's this huge ambient kind of wall of sound. Now, I just don't know if they did it well. Uh, Apart from the way that it sounded and was mixed, the actual writing I thought was pretty boring. And of course, like I was saying, they're known for repetition. I mean, on the first few albums, they had very similar drumming styles, like that surf rock kind of roll, for pretty much most of their songs, and there was never an issue because it fit, it was necessary, and each song was still its own being because of the bass lines or because of the tremolo guitar rhythms or just the pacing of the song. Now, with Too True, it just felt like only a few songs stuck out. So many of the other ones, um, the repetition here didn't work because it wasn't as fun. It wasn't as full of attitude. it was it was so subdued that when it became repetitive, it became boring for me. That's just how I feel though. There are a few songs on there that are really good though.
Well, my favorite tracks were "Are You Okay" and "Under These Hands." Which ones did you like?
My favorite is Little Minx for sure. That one's got a big punch to it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah.
I like the album overall. I thought it was really good. Maybe that's just because I'm not familiar with their previous stuff to compare.
No, a lot of people like it though. Even publications have given it a better rating than I have. I think it's just me. This is just
What was the average, or what else have you heard from other places?
pretty much the average I know of for now is like a 7 out of 10.
Okay, so you're not too far off.
No, but at the same time, I'm in mediocre territory. They're in give this a check territory. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Big
Oh,
difference between a six
what
and a seven.
when you rate an album, do you like the decimals,
I
or do you
do.
wish it could just be like 5, 6, 7, 8?
No, I like the decimals because I think
Maybe with a point 0.5 is okay, but like point 0.3, point 0.7.
I think there's a lot of gray area. That's the thing. Like when you studied at school, you didn't just get like an 80 or a 90, you'd get like an 85. And that's kind of how I see this instead of calling it a full 85, because then it's a bit much to actually have big numbers. I like the decimal because for me, I guess because I look too far into music, um, it's more satisfactory. And I know that might sound pretentious and all that, but I assure you it's not. Um,
What about like suppose you gave it like a 6.418?
No, no, that's too much. That's too much because but at that point that means that you have hundreds and hundreds of things you have to calculate, which for like 12 songs is a bit silly. Now,
That would just mean that you're an asshole.
exactly. Now, if why I would give it like a 6.4 instead of a 6.5 perhaps is I would I think I was giving you a play-by-play while I was listening to it, and I was like, oh yeah, so far this is a 6.5. I think perhaps in one of the songs, like a specific sound that just kept ringing and just occurring kind of was distasteful, so that knocked it down a little bit because that became borderline annoying, but the song itself is still good. It's just a few of these kind of intricacies because I think here's the bigger kicker for me. There's a big difference between a 9 and a 10, a perfect album, right? Now, it's pretty hard to have a perfect album, but then at the same time, I think there are varying degrees of what a 9 can be. Now, if I were to take an album, let me think of one last year. If I were to take perhaps Kanye West Jesus, which I wouldn't give a perfect 10, but it's a lot better than a lower 9 for me. They're just like one or two things that I would have personally wanted differently. But apart from that, I thought it was like near perfect, but I wouldn't give it a 10 just because I thought it was near perfect because it's not perfect
Yeah,
for me anyways.
and remember, music is very subjective, right?
Yeah.
Everyone sees it and perceives it differently,
Yeah,
so it's
exactly.
understandable. So
Yeah.
yeah, maybe the decimal system's okay there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a critic which I don't agree with too much, but I agree. I kind of see where he's coming from rather. His name's Piero Scaruffi, and he's becoming pretty big online now. I'm pretty sure he's an academic that just on the side started reviewing music, and because of his outlook or whatever, he started growing big. He's not given an album a perfect 10 ever. I don't think he believes in an album being perfect.
I don't think an
His
album can be perfect either.
Yeah, that's the thing. So his favorite album of all time, which is Captain Beefheart's Trout Mask Replica, only got like a 9.5, and he's like, "This is the best. This is the best album I've ever heard." And Alcest, the French black shoegaze or black metal shoegaze band, their first album, he declared one of the best shoegaze albums ever made, and it only got like a 7.5 out of 10. So he, that's just how music is for him. Like his personal taste will never be matched. It'll never get perfect, I don't think. Nothing will ever perfect how he feels about music. But I guess that's why he's so big because he's somebody who's got the guts to explain this kind of quality when other people might agree with him, like you do, for instance. But a lot of people won't actually say it because then people would think that they're pretentious. Like the needle drop, people were giving him Anthony Fantano shit for the longest time because he wouldn't give albums perfect rating until Death Grips the Money Store came out, and then suddenly the 10 out of 10 came out, and his review was part of the reason why that album skyrocketed because whoa, Anthony Fantano gave an album a 10 out of 10. What is this? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I watch his stuff too. He's pretty good with his reviews. I
Oh
like
yeah.
him.
I don't agree with him a vast majority of the time, but I like the way he presents himself, and with that, I have a lot of respect for him. So
Yeah, me too. Well, I often tell people that this podcast is like director's commentary of Live in Limbo, so I think we were doing a good job there. So you got to explain yourself a little more from about your Dum Dum Girls review
yeah,
and
and
your written part.
still a big fan of theirs, and I don't think this is the downfall of their career. I think it's just an experiment they had that didn't sit too well with me.
No,
That's
I don't
it.
think it's their downfall. I really
Exactly.
liked it.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, like on a personal level, I don't think it's them degrading a quality or anything. I think it's just an experiment that didn't work too well. That's
Yeah,
it.
yeah. All right. So that was the news in the music industry this week.
Yep.
So, and you're gonna take off with the next topic.
Well, this is what I was talking about before. Going back to Lord's uh, ranting about the gaze on the public image. I think this feeds into a lot. That's today's word, by the way, feed. I've said that how many times? I think this feeds into what's been going on lately with another specific individual. Um, Everybody knows Justin Bieber's antics as of late, especially the within the last week that he both got arrested and came back to Toronto and turned himself in.
Yep.
It was either a week or two. Either way, that's a lot of paperwork for that guy.
Well, he was drag racing.
Yeah,
He egged some guy's house, and
yeah.
then he came back to Toronto for attacking
Limo
someone.
driver
Yeah, limo driver.
or somebody in his posse. Now, the one mature thing I think he's done out of all of this, we don't know for sure if it was Bieber that actually hit the limo driver, but
It was probably him.
it was probably him, but it was supposedly one of the members of his posse. We don't know for sure, but the fact that he just accepted responsibility, regardless of if it is him or not, that's not too shabby. But then again, he's the same guy that a lot of people suspect that the drugs were his in his house, and somebody else took the fall for him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So who knows? Um, Justin Bieber is a very interesting case, and I hate talking about him, but if there's any place to do it, it'd be in a podcast. So here's everything I feel about Justin Bieber right now.
All right, let it go.
So basically, this is going to be about crimes and celebrities, or celebrities and downfalls, and why they happen, and why we pay so much attention. Justin Bieber was a 16-year-old prodigy, this and that. He became big, got signed by Usher. He ballooned, became like the next big thing. And as of late, he's being a dick. As of the past 2 or 3 years, he's been nothing more than a large jerk that's done so many despicable things, not out of just outbursts, but just out of really bad character. Now, uh, all right, so when people hated Justin Bieber before, it was because of his music or because of his fan base. Now, when this was going on, I mean, I'm not one to just hate blindly on things. I would say, look, I hate the attention. I don't like his music at all. But you know what? He's just a kid. He's got talent, this and that. Now, with these outbursts and just all these things he's doing, like spitting towards fans or just in their presence, driving under the influence of alcohol, beating up was it a security guard or a DJ at a club? Oh, so he punched somebody and he just ran behind the security guards, threatening to beat the fuck out of a guy. But just all of these things, those were his words, by the way. If anybody's a Bieber fan and they don't want to acknowledge this, you can look this up for yourself.
We'll
All
have
of
a
this,
quote to that and a link to that, so you can't go after us.
yeah, you can't blame me.
It's a fact. It's a fact.
It is a fact. He swore more times than I did. Now, having said that,
That's why we have a explicit rating on iTunes. No one can email me and complain.
yeah, it's because of me. It's because of
Yeah.
me.
I think a guy actually dropped the first shit word last week. So,
I don't know. I swore in one of the reviews before.
well,
Anyways,
regardless, that's why we have it there.
exactly.
Warning is up.
The warning is up. Fuck. No, I'm kidding. So Justin Bieber, his antics, now people hate him not because of his music or because of his fan base, even though his fan base is still causing a lot of stir, which I'll get into, which is a huge reason for this discussion. But it's because of just the kind of stuff that he's doing, and it's not him acting out because he's young. Like, here's the difference between him and a Lindsay Lohan kind of character. Lindsay Lohan's self-destructive. She's not attacking other people. She is driving under the influence, which is, you can't, you can't say that's a good thing. You can't justify it in any means or measures. But it's that I see as just a young person just being stupid with money. What Bieber's doing, getting people to carry him over the Great Wall of China, threatening to beat up people, actually beating up people or trying to, that's not some kid. Like, okay, maybe peeing in a bucket, that's something that people would do when they're young. Everybody's done something stupid. But a lot of these things are just because he's being a jerk. Now, I don't think he was always a jerk. I think he transitioned into being one. And I think the biggest reason actually is because of his fans. Now, to tie this in with crimes and how we view them, there was a picture that's being floating around online where the fans were posting his mugshot of him smiling. One thing that really annoyed me were the people saying, "Oh, him smiling, it's actually him out of fear. Look in his eyes. He's actually scared." That's not the point. There were people posting the picture saying that Bieber needs to be freed. And this one person, I think on Tumblr, just said, "Okay, that's the end of it. This is disgusting now. My sister or my sister-in-law was killed by a drunk driver, and he was given 2 years. And, you know, Bieber could have killed somebody, who knows? But they're saying to free him. Oh, would you want to free this other guy? No, you wouldn't because he's not famous." And he's got a good point because people become so fixated on a celebrity image. Actually, with the deaths of last year, the celebrity deaths, we had Paul Walker, who is a huge celebrity image. Let's face it. What he did was good in his films. Like I wasn't the biggest fan of his, but nobody, you don't want anybody to die at such a young age. You don't want them to die in such a horrible way, a car accident that like immediate impact causing your death. That's terrible. You wouldn't wish that on anybody, right? But then you have other celebrities that passed away, like Lou Reed or Peter O'Toole, that didn't get nearly as big of a buzz. I guess because the death wasn't as tragic, but at the same time, now kind of playing they're playing his death almost as a way to boost sales because they're going to continue the Fast and Furious franchise. His car crash photos made tabloids. His When they were selling the DVD for the latest film of the Fast and the Furious series, his death was a big reason why it boosted. It's like when Amy Winehouse died and Microsoft disgustingly said, "Oh, rest in peace, Amy Winehouse." We're selling Back to Black, by the way.
Mm.
The image of a celebrity is something that I think needs to be toned down severely because the image is something that's creating an unreal look at how people exist. Like I was saying, when Peter O'Toole died, of course, a lot of people gave their respect to whatever, but it wasn't disgustingly used for selling or it wasn't used as a means of getting people's attention. It's like the whole thing with Anna Nicole Smith when she passed away. For months and months and months, it was who's going to take custody of her kid, or the legal documents, what you don't know about Anna Nicole Smith. Do you see this kind of stuff with Peter O'Toole? No, you don't. You don't see any scandals about him. Because he was never an image. He was popular because of his talents. Now, I'm not saying that Anna Nicole Smith or Paul Walker weren't talented or smart or anything. I don't know them as people. I couldn't tell you.
I think that's
But
what you're saying.
that's not what I'm saying. um, but the fact that they're created as an image, as like a sex symbol almost, like look at Paul Walker in this car and look at Justin Bieber with his guitar. Like he's this young, attractive looking guy. Now he's ripped or whatever. Now he's got like these songs that are catered to a young audience. This is the kind of demographic that they're aiming for. They're not creating realistic people. They're creating images. And because people see them as images, they don't have a realistic output on how they should be treated or what should happen. Because I think his outburst started because his fans were swarming him too much, and because of that, because of his fans, a lot of people hated him and were insulting him. I could understand if somebody's angry for constantly being called, like first of all, I don't agree with people calling him a little girl. I think that's not just sexist, but it's beyond stupid. Like why is that an insult, anyways? But being called what's supposed to be an insult permanently. I can see why he's angry, but it doesn't excuse what he's doing. And the people that want him to be freed, even though he was driving under the influence, it's pathetic. And when somebody like Paris Hilton drives under the influence or whatever, and they can get out scot-free because they've got the money and they've got the fans to try and back them up. You can't. You can't. You can't do that, right?
No. But like right after that incident broke out with Bieber, that clip from South Park immediately went viral again.
Yeah.
The one with Cthulhu.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know that one?
I think so. I think I saw it on Imgur.
Eric Cartman and Cthulhu, the giant underwater sea monster,
Yeah.
the evil thing, attacks Justin Bieber at a concert and
Oh yeah, I've seen that.
kills him, pops his head off.
I've seen that.
So that shows you how many people dislike him to make that kind of clip go viral.
No,
so
of
they're
course.
those people are adding more to this fire. And then I'm pretty sure he probably hears about that somehow, and that just aggravates him even more.
Yeah, that's probably why he. A lot of celebrities, let's face it, try and
It's a
break out of
fast
molds.
spiral down.
Exactly, they try and break out of molds, and a lot of them are successful. A lot of them aren't. How many of us remember Anne Hathaway as being the little teenager in The Princess Diaries? I sure as hell didn't until I just brought
Not
it up
me.
now. Exactly, she broke out of the mold successfully. Now you'll have somebody like Hilary
And she
Duff.
broke out very well.
Exactly. You'll have somebody like Hilary Duff who might break out of the mold, but they still won't be big. But you know what? That's still respectable because
I respect Hilary Duff so much.
exactly, like she might not have the fame that she once had, but she's taking it with class and with stride, and she's still trying, but she's not doing anything to get the kind of attention that would cheaply get her her fame back.
She could
Now,
do it easily.
yeah, of course. Now, this isn't meant to bash anybody. It's just a personal opinion. Sorry. People like Bieber and Miley Cyrus, regardless of if they do have talent or not, I feel like a lot of their fame is because of the shock image, the kind of stuff that Marilyn Manson would have done. Now, Marilyn Manson, of course, isn't the first person to have done this. He's hugely influenced by David Bowie, by Alice Cooper, and the like. But he was a music critic, actually. I don't know if you knew this. He was a music critic before he was a musician.
I did
And
not know that. That's pretty interesting.
yeah, he used to write and review. And he basically discovered, wait, I think I know the key to success. I think I know how this works. So he had basically a mixture of three things. He had the shock value, which immediately drew attention and caused rumors, like the one rumor where he committed autofellatio by removing his ribs, which obviously wasn't true, but that's what happens when people hate you enough, right? The same
I
kind of
remember
rumors.
that.
Yeah, the same kind of rumors that Justin Bieber would have gotten. Well, not to that extent, but you know what I mean. Like people still create lies about him. Now, it was shock value, it was actual talent, and it was influence. What made David Bowie big? David Bowie was one of the first popular musicians to have created an alter ego with Ziggy Stardust. And Alice Cooper, of course, who his name's not actually Alice Cooper. I think he came up with Alice Cooper from a name he was given from a Ouija board. I don't know.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah, something interesting.
That worked out well for him.
Exactly. But here's the difference. They are all on stage personas, right? Yeah, of course, they come out dressed up and everything, but of course, his name's not Marilyn Manson. His name is a portmanteau of Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson. Like everybody else in his band was named after a fashion icon and a serial killer, like Twiggy Ramirez,
Yep.
and so forth. Ginger Fish, I think. Now, um, David Bowie actually isn't named David Bowie. I think his name is David Duncan.
That's
And
not as catchy.
yeah, of course. That's why his son's name is his last name is Duncan, the director of Moon. What's his name again? Ah, man, I can't remember. Oh, no, Duncan Jones. Sorry, his last name is Jones, I think. Whoops, my bad. What kind of a David Bowie fan am I? His
David
last name,
Jones sounds okay too.
David Jones, okay, yeah.
That sounds very
his last
classy.
name is Jones, and his son's name is Duncan Jones. Actually, David Bowie named his son Zoe Bowie, I think, but then he
Oh
said,
my
no, I
goodness.
don't
I'm
want
so happy he didn't do that.
He did, but his son changed it. He's like, no, I want to stick
Oh,
to your
the
real
son
name,
changed
Dad.
it. Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
But here's the thing, they're all stage personas. Of course, they come out like that and they create their own controversies, like back when homosexuality wasn't nearly as accepted and David Bowie claimed to be gay, but then later it came out as a closet heterosexual.
Okay, so you bring up a good point. You
Yeah.
said all of these people are on stage personalities. Is
Yeah.
it even possible for anyone of any kind of fame to not have an on stage personality and just be themselves?
Well, yeah, well, here's the thing, actually. everybody's got like a stage persona or like a stage presence, of course. People like Bowie and Manson played not just on the fact that they're stage personas and everything's theatrical, but they played on what society was disgusted by, which unfortunately was or was homosexuality before rather. But people like him who kind of shook things up. I mean, he wasn't even gay, I don't think. I don't even think he was bisexual. Somebody like that's one reason why I have some sort of respect for Macklemore because he created that kind of a song and he's 100% straight, right?
Yep.
And so they're either going against what society or they're going with society to try and elevate this stage persona. And they're kind of working as jesters where a jester can get away with saying anything because people won't take them seriously. It's that kind of thing. How many people were blown away by Marilyn Manson and Bowling for Columbine, right? Where they said, "Whoa, this guy's actually really smart." When he was asked, if you could say anything to the two shooters of Columbine, what would you say? And he said, I wouldn't say anything. I would just listen. That's what nobody did. That's why this happened. And people were blown away. They're like, wow, this is the guy that we were ostracizing for being one of the worst role models in America. Now, that kind of shock, it's both satirical, it's theatrical. And at the end of the day, like, you know fully that's not who they are, that they're not this twisted. Now, people like Justin Bieber and Miley Cyrus, because it's not solely their faults or solely the fault of the label, actually. Um, I think it's just because of the genre itself and the way that it's evolved. The fact that pop runs on how people are in their social lives, the fact that pop runs on image and that pop runs on what's trendy. Because of that, a lot of what happens with them gets incorporated within their actual personal lives. Now, somebody like Lady Gaga, gets a lot of hate, but at the same time, her real name's not Lady Gaga, right? It's the exact same thing as Marilyn Manson. She wears all these weird costumes and stuff, which that gets attacked. But she herself, as a person, rarely gets attacked because there's no reason to attack her. Everybody else is attacking this surface level kind of entertainment and this social level kind of commentary. Now, somebody
That's
like
pretty smart.
exactly like Miley Cyrus bears everything, so she's there. It's her. She's no longer Hannah Montana. This is her actual name that she was given to by her father. And everybody's
So
personally attacking her. Everybody's personally attacking Justin Bieber, right?
so maybe they shouldn't be using their real names then.
Well, no, that's not the point. I think the point is pop music
Because then
as
you
a
can't
whole.
separate yourself.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, you shouldn't have to change your identity. Like some people want to be personal. Like, do you think somebody, well, I'm not going to compare them to Joni Mitchell, but do you think somebody like Joni Mitchell or Van Morrison should have stage personas when they want to be as down to earth as possible?
Well,
No,
to
right?
me, I think that anything that you do in the public eye, you will have some sort of stage presence. Even as you and I are doing this podcast, I think there's at least a little slight difference in how we
Of course.
speak and act.
Of course, it's a different voice. Like I don't go out into public and
You
go
have
through
to
a
elevate the
drive-through.
confidence, right?
Exactly. I don't go, "Hello, I'd like to get a Big Mac with fries" or anything like that.
That
I
would
would
be
just
so
talk
cool if
about.
you did that, though. You should try that, man.
Actually, a different topic for a different day. I do use voices at drive-throughs just to annoy them, but that's
Do
another day.
you? That's
Yeah, I do.
hilarious.
I
Okay,
do. I
that's
would,
next episode then.
I'll go in like Batman, like, "Hey, for Gotham City, I want to get a Big Mac." Something. Um,
Really? And what
yeah.
did they say?
They give me looks at the window.
What the hell?
That's a topic for another day.
Take 2 Big Macs and get out of here.
For Gotham. No. Yeah, of course, there's always that's what the appeal is. That's when you watch something like American Idol, The X Factor. Somebody might be able to sing well, but they won't get chosen because they don't have quote unquote the full package. That's what the full package is. It's the ability to present yourself as an entertainer. Now, of course, what I think should happen is that one's personal life and who they are on stage should be separate. Of course, I agree with that 100%. But I don't think that it's always necessary to have to pretend that you're somebody that you're not. Like somebody like David Bowie is a completely different person with a completely different goal than somebody like maybe well, I guess I'm just gonna go with Justin Bieber with that Justin Bieber did. Now, of course, people like Madonna and Lady Gaga, this and that, have their own stage personas, but not everybody wants that. Not everybody wants that notoriety. They just want to be who they are and be loved for who they are. Like Britney Spears, for instance. Of course, she's not exactly who she is in the media or on stage, but she's still using her name. She's still using herself as her own image, right? She's not having to create something.
Yep, I agree with that. So I think that you mentioned Hilary Duff, and even I think Kelly Clarkson.
Yeah.
They're using their own real names,
Well,
and I think they're both sticking to what they do
yeah.
talent wise, and they don't sell out. I really like Kelly Clarkson as well.
Well, the good thing about Kelly Clarkson is,
She's the original American Idol,
yeah,
and
exactly.
she ditched them after she got her success,
Yeah.
and she reinvented herself, and she's still successful in my opinion.
No, of course she is. And now she's targeting the country genre as well, and the country audience. Um, yeah, she out of all people should have every reason to be clinging to what's trendy because
They deserve
she
it.
yeah, not even just well, I don't know if anybody deserves it, but she was the first American version because obviously it came out in the UK before, I think. She was the first American version of somebody winning from a reality show and becoming a singer. Um, for American Idol anyways, like on that level, because we had other stuff before. I can't remember the actual shows or the names, but we had other stuff before. But she was the original American Idol, and how many of them have been as successful as she has, apart from like Carrie Underwood, right?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
but she's if anybody is going or drifting away from that, it's her.
And
Which
she's
is
doing her own thing, and I love that.
exactly, she's doing exactly what she wanted to do. And it's not to say like her first album wasn't good or anything, just because it was the one that was funded to her by American Idol and its
That one
associates and
really
whatnot.
held her back though. Like it limited her,
Oh, of
and
course.
now she's free, and I think she's doing very well.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like,
And she doesn't care about what the media says about like things like her weight and
yeah,
stuff like that.
yeah, exactly. That's the thing. That's I think a lot of people could take her kind of approach because, yeah, as I was saying, the first album, it might not have been her best or anything, but it's the one that got her enough popularity. And then she said, okay, there we go. Now I want to say what I want to say. Now, having said that, I think a lot of musicians might have that idea at first because they get signed to a label. They don't want to really do the music that they're doing. But once they see that it's famous, or that's what gets them famous, and it's what sells them the most, suddenly I think they're kind of forced to stuck in that mold, or they feel threatened. Perhaps that's what Bieber did because he was like a guitar kind of guy at first. Maybe not like City and Color or anything, you know what I mean? But like that's what he was. He was a guitar kind of guy. He was turned into like this dancing pop machine by whatever label signed him, and now he's stuck in that mold. Even though yeah, he'll bust out a guitar here and there, but he's stuck in that mold. And because of his fan base, he's stuck in that mold. Now he's this image of this cute guy or whatever, just on stage dancing, singing with his innocent voice. That's who he's forced to be now.
It's what the
And
fans expect of him.
exactly. So I can understand why he's got an outburst here and there, but it still doesn't excuse what he's done. But I think that the image that was created of him is the reason why he's such a dick. It doesn't excuse him being a dick, but that it makes sense. And the fact that he just got so much fame so quickly, I don't think anybody should have that. I think people, yeah, like Kelly Clarkson should ease their way up, not just have like this instant successful first album that's not created by their own talents, but by the label pushing them, right?
I would love to see Justin Bieber just kind of not disappear, but like go away for a little while, maybe like few months, and then just release an album not with anything that he's ever done before and just do what he originally loved to do, like you said on the guitar and stuff.
Now, I think, yeah, of course, he needs a break, and I think he's a bit of a dick, like I said. But I think the best thing is for him to go away for a little while and then come back, not just for himself, but for just the world as a whole, because his fans are breaking out because they don't know how to handle this, because they're being fed the wrong idea of what makes somebody influential. You have the people who hate him, who absolutely despise him enough to try and kick him out of the country. Um, and as Andy Warhol proved to us back in the 60s and the 50s and whatnot, was he in the 50s anyways? That the public image never disappears, like the Campbell soup can or the Marilyn Monroe face that have become symbolic, even though that's all he did was provide the image that we already knew. And look at Che Guevara, for instance, whose face is plastered onto so many T-shirts when people are wearing them for the wrong reasons or they don't even know his full story.
Know why exactly? They're just wearing it because it looks cool or
Yeah,
trendy.
yeah, and that's not necessarily our fault. It's because it's what we were told. It's the whole thing, as we were talking about before with commercials. Commercials. Um, we are basically falling for their biggest trap because we're all tuning in to the Super Bowl and they've won. Even if we ignore all their other commercials, the commercials that they worked the hardest on are winning because we're watching them in droves. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, and we want to watch them. We're part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly. So, like somebody like Beyonce, for instance, like even if you don't like her, this and that, or Adele, they get by, they got big because of their talent, and they get by their own kind of intuition as opposed to what's being expected of them. Now, like I said, perhaps Beyonce did try and be a part of this new kind of sound that's occurring, like what Justin Timberlake or what Drake have touched upon with her newest album, but it's still her own rendition of it. It's still one that kind of speaks about her own life, like the song "Flawless," where it basically has like a subtle commentary on how she was seen as a talent when she was at a young age, but not everybody will always be successful in life because, like in this fictional contest that she has in the song, she's in some talent show and it's supposed to be on TV and it sounds like a news commentary. She was in some talent show with some group and they lost to this bigger band. But the whole point of the song is that you are only flawless or you're only perfect if you make yourself that way. And that speaks about how she just grew up as a person and she's bringing her own personal element and spin. The reason why her album is doing so well, it's not just because it just came out of nowhere, but the fact that it's catchy. It's because it's probably her darkest release yet. It's her most personal one
Yep.
yet. That's why it's just Beyonce. That's why every song has a video and her own artistic representation, whether it be hypersexual and promiscuous or very artistic, of what she felt when she wrote each song. And that's the thing. When you have an industry where, yeah, to go onto that actually, Justin Bieber had that documentary. Now he's got two, but he had that initial documentary, whatever it was called. And of course, maybe it didn't give like the biggest insight into his life, but it was created. It was
Is that
successful.
the Never Say Never one?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know which one's which, but the first one.
I don't know why I know that.
It's the first one. And then you have somebody like Katy Perry, who I'm very against. Sorry if we have any fans. I'm very, very against Katy Perry, who
Katrina loves
builds on this
Katy
idea that
Perry.
people have documentaries, and then suddenly, sorry, Katrina, um, who creates her own documentary like right afterwards, and then suddenly his idea of a documentary as being made by all these other pop singers, because now it's a trend, is delegitimized because now it means nothing. Now it just means success, and now it feeds to the haters who hate him even more for creating this moneymaker, and it confuses his fans as saying, is this even true? Especially with his outburst now. Is he really that nice of a person? Why is he doing this? You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a fine line. It's a gray line, a gray zone,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
yeah.
so this whole public image thing, it's making crime not that bad. Oh, we need him because
But the thing is that there's so many other people than just the artists themselves involved. Everyone in their team wants a slice of the pie,
of
right?
course, but
So
it's not their
in
face.
order for everyone to make more in order for everyone to make more money, the target has to be even bigger on that artist.
Yeah.
So then he or she can generate more money, then everyone else will take more from the pie. Then you'll end up with someone like Michael Jackson who knows how much millions of dollars don't go to him but go to his
hmm
staff, and other stuff like that, just so that they can benefit off him, and then he ends up
Michael
dead.
Jackson's a really sad case, though, because regardless of what you think he did or he didn't do, the fact is we can all agree that he was always infantile, like his entire life. He never really grew up because when he was a kid, even younger than Justin Bieber, actually, he was always forced to be this American icon. His father forced him. He's like, "Oh, your nose is big, this and that." That's why he got a nose job. It's like, "Oh, you need to step up. You need to do this and that." And he always felt forced. And apparently, there's this rumor going around. I don't know if it's true or not, but I like to believe that it is. When Quincy Jones met him on the set of this film, I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a modern rendition of The Wizard of Oz. And he met him. I can't remember if he was dressed up as a Tin Man or the Scarecrow, but Michael Jackson was one of those people. And he basically was talking to him, this and that. And apparently the answers he gave were really childish. And that's why Quincy Jones kind of said, you know what, let me take you under my wing. And then that's when albums like Off the Wall and Thriller started, is because Quincy Jones tried to help this kid. He wasn't a kid, but mentally he was a kid because he never had a life. He was just so like everybody, like you said, wanted a piece of his success that he never got a chance to grow because everybody was always hounding him and delaying his process.
That's really sad, and we lost a true talent there.
Absolutely. So that's why he was always so soft-spoken and so childish with everything that he did. And that's why he had this big amusement park because uh, that's why it was called Neverland because of the fact that he couldn't grow, he didn't want to grow up. He said, it's too late for me to basically grow up to face this real world as it is. So I just want to stay as is now because that's what I've been forced to be. He didn't actually say that, but that's what I can gather from that.
Yeah, that's probably
And
what he
then,
was thinking. That's pretty accurate, I guess.
of course, and then you look at Marilyn Monroe to go back to Andy Warhol. How many people know that her name wasn't Marilyn Monroe, that her name was actually Norma Jean? How
I
many
didn't know that.
people know that you didn't know that?
No, you just told me
Um,
now. Well, I knew that wasn't her real name, but like you
yeah.
just told me her real name, so yeah.
The original Candle in the Wind by Elton John was actually about her, and well, not about Princess Diana, obviously, because that was the modern rendition of it. But where was I? Yeah, no, it was a tribute to her, and that's why in the song he refuses. Well, he does call her Marilyn Monroe, but whenever he directly responds to her death, he calls her Norma Jean because that's who she was. She suffered with a lot of mental illnesses like depression. She had like a big drug problem because of all the prescription that she would be taking. She had like a lot of issues because everybody saw her as a sex symbol and as this cute, innocent person, when in reality, um, she felt pretty much the complete opposite. She's like, this isn't even who I am. All these people are idolizing somebody that doesn't even exist. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And she was like one of the first. She was like back in the 50s. She was one of the first sex symbols of modern pop culture. So you can only imagine somebody as young, like in between the ages, obviously, well, not Marilyn Monroe's age, but not as young as Michael Jackson. Somebody who's seen as kind of both that kind of a sex symbol, both as like a young prodigy, and with the modern social media getting all this attention, both positive and negative, and blind on both ends, even though a lot of it is justified or whatever, but a lot of it is blind and just out of nowhere because it's the trendy thing to do, to either love him for no reason or hate him for no reason. And yeah, so you can see why he has outbursts, but it doesn't excuse what he's doing. It doesn't excuse his crimes, and the fact that everything's seen at surface level is shocking. It's really bad, especially with social media, because these people are saying to let him go, even though he did something that's disgusting. You can't drink and drive. You can kill somebody. Somebody has killed somebody from doing that. You remember Vince Neil from Motley Crue?
Yep, I
Yeah,
remember.
and you know what happened? 20 years later, he didn't kill somebody this time, but he drove drunk again. Like he didn't learn anything. And you know why? Because nobody ever gives him grief for doing so. Like people aren't giving Bieber
Yeah,
grief for doing this. Who knows? Maybe
they
once
should
he's
give him
out,
grief.
exactly, he'll do it again. And what? Maybe he will
So
hit
after
somebody. God
going
willing,
through
he
all of
doesn't.
this, what do you think the solution to all of this is?
Well, the solution might have to be from ourselves as listeners because the labels won't give in. The artists are suffering and they don't know what to do. Not all of them will break out in a good way. It has to be from us creating like dispelling the illusion between somebody who they are in the real life and who they are on stage.
Okay. I think there's a number of things that can be done. So number one, it's the artist's behavior naturally. It's their behavior when they're given pressure. And it's the people they associate themselves with.
The way to summarize this is basically that we need to separate the artist from what they do. Like what had to learn how to do with Kanye West. He's a dick in real life, but I appreciate the music that he does. The person that he is on stage and is in real life are different. They might be similar, but they're different. And that's just what you got to do. You got to remember to take certain things at face value, but not to dive in to these images that the label are creating or the artists themselves are creating.
I think with that, we'll wrap up the show.
Sounds good?
You can follow myself on Twitter at Sean Chin, my co-host Andreas at Andreas Babs. You can follow the show on Twitter at Live in Limbo and use the hashtag Capsule Podcast to join in on the conversation. And as always, you can find the show notes at liveinlimbo.com/capsule. See you next week.
Have a good one.